Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my speech about international standardization. Today I'm here as the chairman of an IEC group called SC8A. It's about grid integration of renewable energy. For those who are not familiar with IEC, who knows about IEC? Who knows about all the details? Okay. IEC is a standardization organization, so we're writing standards, more or less. You might know ISO. I have a few examples of standards later. And the thing is that IEC, we have international standards, so that should apply to all around the world. I give you a few benefits of standardization. I will skip a lot of slides I have here and tell you then at the end a little bit more about the group I'm chairing. Standardization work is slow, boring, and doesn't give you any profit. So this is why nobody wants it. But there are also some benefits. And I give you a few examples. It improves clarity. You know what this is? It's a piece of paper. The size of the paper is very well defined. It's an A4 paper. In the US, you have US letter and so on. If you're talking about a piece of paper, usually you have something like this in mind. And the size is exactly something millimeters by millimeters. And that's very important, otherwise we're talking about different things. It makes life much easier. I have another example, the IEEE 802.11. It's the Wi-Fi standard. Everywhere you go in the world and there's Wi-Fi, you use this standard. You just switch on your phone, or you switch on Wi-Fi and it can connect. Without a standard, it won't be possible. The IEEE standard is an American standard, it's not an international standard. So international standards, or standards can be national and adopted by others, but they also can be developed as international as well from the beginning on. Another example, GSM or G4 and G5, the new mobile standard. It widens the market. So you develop one phone for the whole world. If you would need to develop a phone for every country, for every continent, it would be much more difficult and much more expensive because you need to develop the whole thing again. So with a standard, you just develop one product and that runs all over the world. It makes products much cheaper. And it makes it much faster to develop because you don't need to think about the standard itself, the mobile standard, for example. The protocols, everything is clear. You just need to develop your own device. And it makes competition easier and fairer. I have another example, the efficiency of a PV inverter. You can measure easily, but how to measure? At full power, at half power, at 80%? The efficiency is always a little slightly different. So if you want to compare inverters, you need a standardized protocol, a standardized testing procedure. And there are many more. Okay, thank you. Many more examples. So I just want to show you a few of them to get an impression of standardization. What are we doing at IEC SC8A? We're trying to find standards for renewable energy and integration of renewables. It is not the wind turbine itself, it's not the solar cell, it's not the module, it's the AC side of the system. So how it interferes, how it is connected to the grid. One goal is the same terms and definitions. Is it called rated power? Is it called installed power? Is it nominal power? What is the nominal or rated power of a PV system? Is it the the panel power, or is it the power of the inverter? Is it the reactive power of the inverter, the appearance power? Is it the active power of the inverter? Things like this need to be defined. For example, the average forecast error for PV. If you take the average, you take all the hours of the year. PV forecast is very, very simple at half of the time of the year. At night, the forecast is 100% accurate. No mistake. If you take the average, is it worth to take the night hours? If not, do you start with sunrise, sunset, half an hour before sunrise, half an hour after sunrise? Things like this need to be defined. What we cannot do is an international grid code, because every grid is different. But what we can do is a grid code assessment, standardized and grid code assessment. That's about measuring, testing, certification. What do you need? Do you need really to test a wind turbine or a whole wind farm, for example, in case of a fault, or do you simulate it? Things like this can be defined. And it makes it easier for manufacturers then to fulfill all the requirements in the world, and then it makes the equipment itself cheaper, because you need just to fulfill one rule, one set of rules. What is not possible is to find standards for complex procedures like wind power forecasting or PV forecasting. But what we can do is, and what we're doing is writing, describing what is the best practice, what is ongoing right now. And one very, very important thing, maybe the most important, at least on a short run, is the networking. And there you can have profits out of standardization work right away. You meet a lot of experts in the world, and you get the awareness of upcoming challenges. So what is going on in China? What is going on in the US with high penetration, with a 200 megawatt wind farm on a long feeder line, 200 kilometers away from the main grid? What happens there? These are questions that you might not have right now, but that might come up in the future. Oh, this starts doing his own work, has his own life here. So this is very helpful to meet the experts, to meet with the experts in the working groups. Challenges, of course, we have challenges because we're not inventing the wheel, we're not reinventing the wheel. Many of the issues we address are already in standards somewhere in the world. And it's the question of the international standardization is to harmonize them and to find one standard or one set of standards that cover all the existing rules and regulations that we already have. And the other challenge is that there are contradictory requirements, especially with decentralized generation. So many distribution system operators, for example, say if anything goes wrong on the grid, disconnect from the grid immediately. We don't want to have unintended islanding or whatever. The transmission system operator says, if something goes wrong in the grid, stay and help the grid. So these are two completely different requirements for distributed generation. And we need to find ways how to address both of them and how to make a good solution and a good compromise. I have a few slides about the organization of IEC. I will skip them here. Because you can read this, and I will give you a few more information about the IEC SC8A. So SC8 means subcommittee. It's the first subcommittee of TC8, of the technical committee, number 8, which is system aspects of electrical energy supply, and SC8A is a subcommittee. It's more or less independent there, but it reports to TC8. The secretary is from China. The chairman is from Germany. We have 17 participating members and 13 observing members. There's at least one country missing here on this list. Do you know which one? India, you're right. So I encourage you to join us. And we have so far 5 working groups. One is about terms and definitions. The second one is about energy predictions. Ad hoc group 3 is just dealing with the strategic development of SC8A, where we want to go to. Then we have joint working group 4, the grid code assessment. I talked about this before. And I'd like to give you a few more information about joint working group 5. Joint working group means it's together with TC88 and 82 with the solar and wind. Because joint working group 5 has probably the highest workload and started not too far ago. And I skipped these slides as well. So there are 4 basic issues we're talking about at joint working group 5. And that's all of it is based on inverter issues, how inverters react with weak grids, how the second one is about interactions. So sometimes you have 2 wind farms that communicate to each other in terms of control algorithms, how to deal with this. Then we have all the fast frequency response, frequency ride-throughs, what happens if the frequency drops or increases. And the last one is the field of faults in the grid, short circuits, and how inverter-based generation can deal with this and can help in these cases. I just conclude what I said. As I said, the international standards in general, but international standards especially leads to cheaper and more reliable products. It is sometimes difficult, especially for renewables, to balance and to find a good compromise for all the requirements you have. And what I'd like to highlight once more is that IEC is a really good place to connect to experts and to get input from other countries and to get knowledge from other countries when it comes to integration of renewables in the grid. And as I said, sometimes you have contradictory, with the connection to the experts, you get the challenges of other countries, and you can learn from other countries. How to participate is pretty simple. You approach your national committee, and then you get access to the information, and there is also public information available on the websites, but it's better, of course, if you join the working groups, and it's not too much work in traveling. Each working group meets 2 to 3 times a year. We usually go around, so from Asia, Europe, North America, and then starting in Asia again. So it's not too much traveling, and it really helps to get more information and more knowledge about the integration of renewables. Thank you.